Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Infinite Series Captain America Winter Soldier Black Widow. One of the many figures included to help you build the very large, very mammoth-sized Mandroid. Sadly, it took Spot forever to actually find this figure. It was something I ended up having to pick up on eBay. She was not found locally. I could not find her locally to save my life. Not that my life would be on the line looking for Black Widow, but if it was, I would be pretty doomed indeed. Black Widow is one of those figures that were part of a revision wave. And actually, the revision wave figures were all the ones that seemed to be from the movie itself, whereas the first wave of figures from this particular series were all more comic-inspired characters. Though if you do want to build yourself a Mandroid, you're pretty much stuck with the hardest figure to find to get the torso piece needed to build Mandroid. This comes to us from the folks over at Hasbro. Black Widow also comes with an alternate head. We'll look at it in a second. On the side of the package, some artwork from the Cap. He didn't draw that, but that's Captain America artwork. On the back, an image of Black Widow. Yeah, okay, kind of looks like Scarlett Johansson. Read-up says, former spy and deadly assassin Natasha Romanoff may have read in her ledger, but Black Widow plans to settle accounts. Well, play on words there. Fine work. Other characters down below you can pick up. There's the Marvel Now Captain America, Agents of Hydra, Soldiers of AIM, and then the revision figures consist of Black Widow, Captain America, and Winter Soldier. Basically, revision figures just means that they came later. They weren't part of the initial wave, and they shadowed these characters out when you first bought the first wave, and then these figures subsequently were released, and therefore then harder to find. Good luck on finding Black Widow. I know some people have fared better than others. I did not fare so well. Black Widow there. You can head over to Hasbro, www.hasbro.com. Check out more that's coming from the folks over at Hasbro, Marvel Legends, and other related items. Other properties too. Spot's going to take a break, get this opened up. Long overdue, but we're finally going to have a look at Black Widow. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Okay, let's get right out of the way first. Black Widow has a tough time standing. We'll revisit that issue right away, but before we do that, let's have a look at the piece that she comes with. At least I can say with the Winter Soldier pieces, the Winter Soldier wave, you actually had to buy all the figures to build your Mandroid. The same could not be said for the Amazing Spider-Man wave, where you ultimately could build the entire Green Goblin with the figures that were released from the first wave. When you got the second wave of figures, sure, you probably were collecting those figures anyways, but you ended up getting extra components that you didn't need. In this case, at least you get components to fully finish Mandroid. The downside, though, is certain characters that were extremely hard to find, i.e., I'm trying to think of one that's, let's say Black Cat. Well, Black Cat was also released. The equivalent of Black Cat was Spider-Girl. Spider-Girl had the same part as Black Cat, kind of the same idea. So even if you missed your chance to get the really hard figures, you could still build it. So there's two sides of the argument. You know, buying the figures that you already have the pieces for, or vice versa, really hard to find figures like Black Widow. You just will never be able to build poor Mandroid. So Spot's ramble on long enough. I've got the upper torso, lower torso piece of Mandroid. I've got the head that will just snap into place. And again, like I think I mentioned this before, kind of looks like a Doombot. Kind of looks like a big old Doombot from Hordak. Head pops into place while you kind of just wedge it in there. And then you've got your respected arms. Which arm goes where? The thumbs will tell you. Thumbsies go in. One of these days, Spot's going to actually get a shirt that says that. Thumbsies go in. That's how you know which way an arm goes. You can say that with life too, but really you should never be in a situation where you're building a human being. You're building like a Frankenstein in your basement. Thumbsies go in. I hope that helps. Last but certainly not least, there also comes with a slightly warped pliable plastic cannon. There's a little peg point right at the top there, shoulder area. Just peg that into place. And you've got a stump. He eventually will have legs as we look at the other two figures in this revision wave, but for at least for the time being, we've got something that's keeping the arms and the head as one unit. They're not just floating around like they have been for months on end. So we'll have a look at Mandroid in a little bit when we finish him completely. I'm just going to put him to the side. And again, let's have a look at Black Widow. Yes, she does not stand very well at all. On the plus end of it, though, she's a decent-looking figure. And I can see why she was extremely hard to find. Well, it also didn't help, too. I think she was like a 1 per case. But she actually looked pretty decent indeed. She does come with 2 alternate heads. Well, one head that she's currently sporting and one alternate head. It's entirely up to you which way you would like to have her displayed with. I mean, the longer hair obviously makes more sense with Winter Soldier. Scarlett Johansson had longer hair in that movie, but the shorter hair also works as well if you want to have the older look to her. I kind of almost feel like the face is a slight bit better on the short hair than on the long hair. She at least looks like she's looking right at you. The longer hair kind of looks like she's just looking way off somewhere. Maybe she's looking at the clouds, I don't know. To change her head, just going to take the head area here, pop it off. Very large ball joint, which makes things a lot easier for changing out heads. You don't have to worry that you're going to be breaking them off anytime soon. Yeah, you know what? Even though she does have the longer hair in the movie, I can't seem to grab onto her, longer hair in the movie, kind of liking the shorter haired face a little bit better. If only I could probably just, not that I would want to start breaking apart figures, but you could take the hair and maybe swap it out. Because it's a much better looking face. Even though it really is the exact same face, for some reason it just looks a little bit better on this head than it does on this head here. Don't stop right there. I mean, there is also alternate hands as well, which sometimes I don't really fathom why they change out hands. Yeah, sure, she's got a flat hand for karate chopping action, which you can swap right out to the open, partially open hands for holding weapons. The same thing can also be said for the other hand. You can swap it out for more kung fu action. But then again, for me, I'm just content completely with partially open hands. It just makes things easier. Just makes things easier. Then if you decide one day, hey, I want to have a gun in her hand, I don't have to start rummaging in totes looking for open hands or partially open hands. They're there. They're already on her. So that's probably how I'm going to just have her displayed. Speaking of displaying, though, as a display piece, she looks quite nice. Sadly, though, she has a tough time standing. She's got such a small footing. And also, too, even though she does have a flat foot, you can see how as with shoes tend to be, much broader on the front end, very much skinnier in the heel section. It's nice when a real person is wearing boots like this. But when you put it into an action figure, unless she comes with a display stand, which sadly she doesn't, making her posable and being able to display properly, even just to get her to stand, she doesn't stand very well at all. Speaking also of displaying, she is featured, well, she's featured with 2 side holsters, 2 side pistols, but sadly they are not removable. They're just molded in pieces. So poor Black Widow, who is an assassin and has, you know, these skills to use firearms, she doesn't come with any. None whatsoever. I'm wondering why that is the case. Maybe they just decided they didn't want to put Black Widow with weapons. I don't know. But really, she is a decent looking piece. Very, very posable. And I can luckily say that while she is quite posable, her limbs are still nice and stiff. She doesn't have any really loose arms, loose legs, or anything like that. For the sake of getting her back, let's just pop the head off, put the other head back on, because, again, she looks more like she did in the movie there. Lots of details, though. The Black Widow emblem down below in her buckle. Little side buckle there, or the buckle that attaches, I guess, her uniform. I mean, if she really has a zipper there, she doesn't really need the buckle there, but also has the shield emblem on her shoulders. A nice combination, really, of the gray and the dark gray, and then in the darker gray area, she's actually got a texture to it, which she doesn't have in the lighter gray area. Also, her Black Widow, I believe these are what, stingers or so, her little bracelets are still there as well. Fingerless gloves. Everybody's wearing fingerless gloves. Yeah, again, she's a really well put together figure. Articulation on Black Widow. Her head does rotate. Probably would have rotated a lot better with the alternate head. This head being here, the hair probably wouldn't obstruct it as much. Shoulders are on a pin and socket, so they move out. Forward, back. She has a swivel and bend via a peg ball socket in the elbows there. She does have a rotation and hinge in the hand. When you get to the upper torso, she does have an upper torso bend via a ball joint there. No articulation from what I can see in the waist, but the legs certainly make up for it. They go forward, slightly back. They kind of stop at her tush there. She has a swivel at the upper thigh. She has a double bend at the knee. And finally, she has a swivel and bend in her foot. Figure definitely could have used a display stand. I'm not as devastated the fact that she doesn't have firearms. I mean, I can easily just add that on to the figure. I'm sure I got enough firearms for Marvel Legends kicking around here somewhere. I just really have to find any Punisher figure. He probably would have been packed to the rim with accessories. But she's a good-looking figure. I think she really turned out well. Longer hair preferred, I guess, if you want to keep it consistent to the movie. But I don't know, I'm kind of digging the shorter hair just a little bit more. A shame, really, that she's such a hard figure to find, because if you could find her, I would say she's well worth picking up. Also, if you want to build a Mandroid anytime soon, she's one of those figures that you definitely need. And being that she has no other replacement figure with the same component, you definitely have to find her in order to put your Mandroid together. Unless you buy Mandroid on eBay, fully assembled, some guy doesn't really want him. Just says, hey, I already got the figures, I don't need Mandroid, here, buy my Mandroid for $25. Maybe that's what the title says. I don't need the figures, buy my Mandroid for $25. Black Widow, I'm going to give her a solid 8.5. Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Captain America Winter Soldier. We were looking today at Black Widow. Stay tuned, guys. This spot's going to have a look at the other two figures and fully finish the Mandroid that we started so many months ago. Those videos will be heading your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.